Hello science students, this is Mrs. Robinson and I'm going to be showing you an experiment that you can try if you'd like in your own kitchen, and it's about the water cycle. So we're going to be making a cloud and thinking about how water moves around on the earth from the different parts and from one state to another. So for this experiment you are going to need a little bit of salt. This bit's optional, and always ask the other people in your home if it's okay to use kitchen resources. You're going to need a pot lid. It does not matter if it's bigger than the pot as long as it's not smaller, and the pot lid needs to be clean. You're also going to want a nice clean plate where you're going to drip your rain into. Next up, you're going to need some kind of heating element. It doesn't matter if it's not gas like mine. And you put cold water into your pot first. Now, interestingly, your pot doesn't have to be clean. It's representing the ocean, which is full of all kinds of junk. And we're going to find that we get beautiful, clean rain no matter what we put into our ocean. So this is also, bonus, a way to clean your pots, because boiling action kind of helps get all the dirt off. So my pot's not perfectly clean, but that doesn't matter. The lid has to be, because this is what our nice rain is going to drip off. And if you want to be able to drink your rain, it needs to be a clean lid. So you start off with your cold water. And just a safety reminder, just like in the laboratory, you never reach across something that is heating with liquid in it. So what's happening here is you can't see it at the moment, but there'll be steam rising above it. Steam is composed of slightly, just visible, if you're lucky, drops of super hot water and invisible water gas, which is also super hot. So if I reached across this now, I would actually, and left my arm there, I would actually get burnt. So always just be a little bit careful. Even though you're in just a kitchen, it does have things in it that you have to think about for safety. All right. Oh, hello, cat. You're not coming up here. So what you want to do is get your pot boiling. Now, the pot is representing the water sources on the earth. So at the moment, it's being a puddle or a lake because it's reasonably fresh water. If I wanted to turn it into an ocean, which is why this is optional, I would carefully add my salt. Okay. And so now I would have salty water, which is representing the ocean. If you want to get really fancy, you could put some icebergs in by throwing some ice cubes into it. And obviously they're going to melt. So this is what we call a experimental model. It's representing the water cycle on Earth, but it's not a perfect model. I've got a nice water source, which is being my ocean, but here the heat is actually coming from below. In real life, most of the heat that's going to be working on this ocean will be coming from the sun, which is above. But the principle is the same, because no matter where the heat source is, you get some of the water doing what we call evaporate, which means it's changing from the liquid state to the gaseous state. Right? So let's now start to make our cloud. What's happening here in our model is that we're pretending that it's daytime and the water is heating up. In the nighttime when we started, it was cold. And now as the sunlight comes onto the Earth's oceans and rivers and so forth, this evaporation starts. And so we've got it actually boiling here, which is very unlikely to happen on Earth. I put my pot on and you immediately start to be able to see the steam a bit better. That's our cloud forming. You can see all the currents, the air currents that are happening. That happens on Earth as well. Now, pretty quickly we get rain, and you can hear the hissing noise. Because I already had it boiling, the rain is actually dripping. It's condensing on the top as liquid and then falling off the sides. So the cloud is inside the pot, and then as soon as it starts to make these droplets at the top, it's going to be rain. Now that's happening because the air above, I can put my hand above it now, because this air is cooler than the air inside. And that's exactly what happens. The air in the atmosphere is cold, and so the droplets of water will form as liquid and fall out of the sky when they get dense enough. So very carefully, what we're going to do to collect our rain is take our pot, and we're going to let it drip the rain from our cloud into our plate. Okay. So I'm going to put that back on there. I'm going to turn off the heat just for fun. Keep it safe. Now you should have some nice rainwater in your plate, and you'll actually be able to find that you can, once it's cooled down a bit, you can actually take it and taste it, and you will find that despite the fact, even if you added heaps of salt, you're going to have fresh water. So this mimics the way that rain is never salty like the oceans. It's always fresh, and that's because the salt is actually getting left behind in our pot. You can start to see little clumps of salt forming, and if I put this back on and kept boiling it, I would end up with no water left in the pot and salt at the bottom. Now, if you want to do this part of the experiment at home, you must always, and you should always stay by pots and things with in the laboratory with fire anyway, because once all the water is gone, the salt could actually start to burn. So you would want to keep watching your pot so you don't damage the pot or cause any accidental fires, particularly if there's some dirt in there. Okay. So you can stand there and watch it, and once you see that you're starting to get salt crystals, you would turn off the heat, and the rest of the water would evaporate out without the fire or the element needing to be on, because the pot retains heat for a while because it's metal. So you can start to see that we're getting all kinds of white stuff in there. That's the salt crystal starting to form as the water evaporates. So we have here got a whole lot of things that happen in the water cycle just using a pot in the kitchen. We had an ocean, we had water evaporating up into our sky, which was the inside of the pot. We had a cloud forming, and then we had